Welcome to the Looking Ahead podcast, where we go inside the minds of tech leaders and luminaries to understand the futures they envision. Hosted by a head CTO, Eric Kaplan. Today's guest is Vmware CEO Pat Gelsinger. Eric and Pat discuss a mix of topics, ranging from the impact of work from home on one's business and personal life, to how Tanzu can shape the future of software development. Enjoy the podcast.
Welcome. Very excited to have you on the show today. And for our guest today, Pat Gelsinger, CEO of VMware. Pat, first and foremost, how are you doing? How's the last 3 months treated you? And any thoughts that you can share with the audience?
Well, thank you, Eric. Great to spend some time with you, our partnership, talk about ahead, some of the joint topics in the industry. So thanks for the opportunity. We're doing well. Healthy, safe, kids, grandkids in the area. So we're pretty happy with that. Have been, when was the last time that I was home for 13 weeks without getting on an airplane? It's like 30 years.
Right.
My wife is like, oh, I like this. Today, my granddaughter, she brought some muffins that she and Grammy made together into my study earlier today. So we're like, this is pretty good. So we're doing just fine that way. And obviously VMware, we flipped to work at home basically over a weekend. Right? We made the decision on Friday the 28th, a couple of weeks before shutdown started. And by Tuesday the next week, we had a 15,000 person sales kickoff that went off flawlessly. And now we are underway in work from home.
Does this make you think a little bit differently about, you just mentioned traveling was obviously a big component of your career and your job. Does it make you think, well, maybe this is being tested at a broader scale, but that this will change your priorities in terms of travel looking forward and where you have to be and when you'll get on an airplane next?
Yeah, let me maybe answer that at maybe three different levels, Eric. One is, how does it affect the world? Businesses, et cetera, right? How does it affect us, VMware, and finally how it affects me, right? And the first one is, and I'll say, I've been on lots of settings. I'm part of the business council, talked to hundreds of CEOs, and I'll say almost every single one has said they haven't seen any negative impact on efficiency and getting the job done, and mostly positive.
Yeah.
Right? Which is pretty stunning. Our IT systems, our ability to adjust rapidly. We're like, wow, this has gone pretty well in that respect. So I'll say first thing, the industry's been able to make this adjustment. And as I've described it, the new normal, we're not going back. Right? It sort of says then the next piece is, how are we going to keep doing this at VMware? And, we're shifting policies for, increasing amounts of distributed workforce. Maybe you don't need to fight traffic 5 days a week. Maybe 1 day a week is just fine, or 1 week a month, right? You can have a better quality of life that way. And, maybe you can live closer to parents or other things that, allow you to, have less carbon footprint, better house location, less traffic, give you more time back. So let's say we believe that to be the case. In fact, I expect that I'm going to close about 50 small offices this year.
Wow.
Right? And redesign our core offices to be less of hotels for offices and more for collaboration hubs, right? So we're making that shift because I do think it'll be a permanent shift, and I think we'll double or triple, going from maybe 20 to 50 or 60% of those who are primarily working from home or distributed workforce of our population. And for me personally, hey, I'm anxious to get back on the road. As I was joking to one of my team meetings, is I just need a hug, right? As well. But I do think that, the idea of big events and the need to be face-to-face to get work done will diminish. However, the value of face-to-face for relationship building, I don't think changes all that much. And when I have a relationship with Eric, hey, we can get together and get stuff done. But if I've never met you before, boy, I just really like to sit down and have dinner with you before, we have it. And I think that aspect of relationship. The other aspect is maybe innovation cycles. right? Where you're just rapid fire at the whiteboard interacting on things. And, and I think those sort of aspects, relationship and real innovation collaboration, are those that, boy, I don't think anything, right, remote will
Right.
quite replicate that anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm a total believer, and sometimes you just got to push through something, and being face to face is the most productive way of doing that. But I'll tell you, I used to be a going to the office 5 days a week, fight the Chicago traffic, and like I'm, there's no doubt I'll be in a hybrid world moving forward of maybe 2 days a
Yeah.
week downtown, 3 days a week here, and I think just the time that people will buy back is huge for
Yeah.
themselves, their families,
Mhm.
and their productivity at work.
Yeah, I've told my leadership team I'm going to be in the office 1 day a week till the end of the year, right? And I'm not going to tell you which day.
Good, keep them on their toes. So maybe just zooming out for a bit, I've tracked and been involved with VMware for a long, long time, and it's been exciting to see VMware, start out as a really server virtualization company, very infrastructure focused. If we fast forward to today, we talk about end user computing, there's storage, there's networking, there's the acquisition recently of Pivotal that was just made, and the developer focus. So maybe you could spend a few minutes, just diving into a minute where you're taking VMware, the vision at hand, and how you see all these, business units and capabilities that you bring to the table kind of coming together.
Yeah. And, we described in a sentence, what we said is we want to be the digital infrastructure for our customers' digital transformation. We do that by helping you build, run, manage, connect, and protect any app on any cloud for any device. So that's sort of the summary statement. But if we tease that apart a little bit, help you build any application, right, which is very much a Tanzu statement,
Yeah.
right? And we'll talk about that a little bit more. Help you run it on any cloud, right? And that's in your data centers, turning those into proper clouds, automation. Sort of the rule of the cloud is ruthlessly automate everything.
Yeah,
Right?
we say relentless automation.
Right. But also being able to do that on any public cloud and harness the power of these hyperscalers as they continue to grow. Being help you to manage those environments, and particularly all the devices, workspace one, being able to connect, manage, deploy, upgrade, patch, help you secure. Right, which with our intrinsic security strategy, as I've described it, Eric, the industry for security is a broken industry. Too many point products, way too much expense, way too hard to operationalize, and much too little security. So build it into the app environment and into the infrastructure intrinsically, so you don't have yet another thing to be adding and operationalizing. It's just built into what you're already doing. And then finally, this complete end-to-end connectivity to the edge, to the WAN, the bank transformation, transform the networks inside of the data centers. And those five together, build, run, manage, connect, protect, we're uniquely positioned to go do those. And VMware today, we're about $11 billion, 32,000 employees, 10,000 software engineers, acquiring organically as well as inorganic innovation, doing on average over the last 5 years, 2 billion of acquisitions per year. Just announced the latest one last week with Octarine. Got a couple more in the pipeline. We're not done. We, very much this passionate, innovative company, because stuff ain't slowing down. And we want our customers to be able to look at VMware and our partners and be able to say, I trust them, I like them. Every penny I invest in them yields unexpected returns into the future, right? The values of who they are as a company, those are folk I want to work with into the future. So that's the company that we're off to build. And we're on a great journey. And I said, hey, I'm going to double the company again. We're off to be the next $20 billion software company, and we're well on our way.
That's awesome. You mentioned Tanzu a minute ago. Obviously, a huge effort over the last couple of years to pull that together. Coming from a place where virtual machines. VMware obviously brought that to market and really dominated that piece of the industry. Give us a little peek behind the scenes of how containers became a first-class citizen inside VMware.
Yeah.
Obviously, acquired Heptio, as I managed, and brought some of the founders along with you. But how does that, this is a no-brainer thing? Is that a lot of, back and forth internally of, are containers going to make it, aren't they? Like, what happened behind the curtains when all this was happening inside VMware?
Yeah, and think of, the way I like to think about it is, Eric, is what was the last great software abstraction for the developer? 20 years ago, Java.
Yeah.
Right. And, when we think about containers and Kubernetes, we think about it through that lens. It's the next great software abstraction that has unity, consensus of the software industry. And if my name were Scott, and this was 20 years ago that we were doing this discussion, right? It'd be Scott McNeely, and I'd be saying Java, Java, Java.
Of course.
In fact, humorously, Eric, I can see Scott's house from where I'm sitting. Right there. He's a neighbor of mine here in California. But fast forward 20 years, Kubernetes and containers is that unifying consensual view of where the industry's going. Super excited about the Heptio acquisition because they were the creators of Kubernetes. They were the founders, the architects, and really this careful balance of bringing the industry along in the open source community at the same time that we have to go build a real commercial offering that people can build upon. So, we've grabbed Kubernetes with all of our might, and we says we're going to do three things with Kubernetes, right? One is we're going to transform the Pivotal services to become Kubernetes and container centric.
Sure.
Pivotal started before Kubernetes, building Kubernetes. It wasn't invented yet.
Right.
So fast forward, boom, we're on Kubernetes. And that's what we're doing. Secondly, we're going to manage multi-cloud Kubernetes, right? And there it's sort of saying, hey, we're going to give you a consistent management portfolio that allows you to run it on Google Cloud, Azure Cloud, your private cloud, right? So you as a developer or an infrastructure team get to say, okay, we're going to be able to take advantage of these resources wherever we choose to run our Kubernetes clusters and pods. The third thing we're going to do is we're going to make VMs versus containers a non-discussion, because we're going to build containers and Kubernetes directly into vSphere. You're not going to be able to tell whether that's running in a VM or a container, because we're going to make them the same. And this solves two very powerful points of challenge or pain for customers. One is, I got to stand up new infra to run containers. Oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. And we just say, hey, all of it runs VMs and containers. It doesn't make any difference. Secondly, I got to go rebuild my apps to go run in containers and microservices. Right? That's a lot of hard work. And we say, no, you don't got to, because now you can choose to build your apps as you want to and refactor them when there's good business reason to do so. So this solves an app problem and it solves a run problem for customers. So very, very powerful answer. And taking all of that together, helping you build, helping you manage, helping you run, that's the Tanzu value proposition. And we're super excited about it. And hey, I'm 3,000 plus people working on this problem today. So, we're at scale in our commitments here. In fact, VMware is now the #2 Kubernetes contributor in the community. And I expect that we're going to pass Google to become the #1 contributor to the Kubernetes open source initiative.
Is that an internal goal of yours?
Yes. and you know me well enough, Eric, that when I set a goal for something, we usually get it done.
Well, we'll hit that in a minute, but I think what I see from our customers is, one, they don't want to be in the business of managing and building clusters themselves. And I think we saw during the OpenStack era where everyone was a science project of their own. that's not a good use of most enterprises' time and effort. So seeing VMware come in and harden Kubernetes, make it available to the common IT infrastructure and apps team is, I think, going to be a huge win. And then what we also saw is the proliferation of clusters in different parts of the enterprise. And once they're out there, they're hard to get back. And so with mission control and the effort of kind of being able to manage these clusters at scale and not having to really know all the details of each provider or endpoint, I think is going to be a big win for most of the enterprise as well.
Yeah, we're super excited about it. We just, we did the announcement at VMworld last year in August. We just went GA on all of the product pieces as part of the vision. Good response, and obviously it's still early. Kubernetes itself is an immature technology, and we are working to harden it. I like that word, Eric, as rapidly as we can. And some of the APIs are still a little bit, they're just settling in CNCF, the standards community for Kubernetes. But I think within year and a half, everybody's going to say, oh, I can run Kubernetes at scale. VMware made that happen, and their partners are now delivering against this vision at scale. I believe this is the most important technology that we're involved in, at this phase of the industry.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. It's another generation that I think we're just at the beginning of in terms of rolling it out and educating customers. So I think the next 2 years or so is going to be pretty impactful. You mentioned, the acquisitions you've recently done. You bought Carbon Black last year on the security side, and I think we'd all agree that if you put up the vendor landscape of security tools out there, it's mind-blowing. And then obviously you continue to spend billions of dollars on organic R&D. As you look at where you're investing, what excites you most in the portfolio today? Not to pick favorites amongst your children, but what are you guys, not to give away something that isn't out yet, but where do you get excited as, Pat Gelsinger, beyond, you just talked about the investments in Tanzu and containers, but a lot of just huge endeavors with NSX and the management tools and the security portfolio. Any thoughts you'd care to share on just overall investments in R&D?
Yeah, there's a number of things, and being a techie for 40 years now, sort of scary to say that out loud, Eric. But I began at Intel 40 years ago, and a couple of things that are going on that I am really excited about. One is you touch on the security landscape, and before I'm in the board meeting getting approval for the Carbon Black acquisition, I said, if it's the last thing I do in my career, I'm going to fix the security industry. And one of the board members looked at me and he says, that might be the last thing that you do in your career.
Hopefully that wasn't Michael Dell.
But it's a broken industry, and it needs to be transformed. And we want to be a force that transforms it. And I'm excited about the fact this ability to, we'll soon be launching Carbon Black in vSphere, an agentless ability to be managing, and securing VMs and containers. Wow, that's pretty interesting. Being able to connect that up to the network and application behavior, right? Oh, that's pretty interesting. As we build Carbon Black into NSX, we build it into Workspace ONE, because we truly said, hey, we are out to displace, take your list. I mean, we're out to displace, traditional firewall vendors, load balancer vendors, traditional endpoint AV. There's a rotting dead carcass that needs to go, right? The ability to integrate this from an end-to-end analytics perspective, leveraging some of the AI techniques like we, just acquire Nyansa and, bringing those into that core platform. So that's one that, we are out on, I'll say, a noble mission, right? For the industry, that I think is pretty powerful. So quite excited about that. I think this whole space, companies went from having 100 campuses to 10,000 campuses overnight.
Sure.
right? And the implications of that for employee productivity, connectivity, security, big deal. Obviously, that gives us, leveraging Workspace ONE and what we're doing for end user, what we're doing in the intrinsic security, as I just discussed, but also the whole position of VeloCloud, SD-WAN, right? I'm really just saying, boom, I remotely, right? And I get management, I get security, I get quality of service wherever I am. Wow, that's pretty exciting, right? As you say, this distributed enterprise occurs. So that's one we're excited about. I'm also, last year we talked about Project Magna, right, which is bringing AI into the automation of the infrastructure itself. And we're now getting some very impressive results where literally, and this is a vSAN example, but we have the self-optimizing Magna engine optimizing for the running workload in the vSAN array, right? And you're sort of like, oh, right? How big should those block sizes be? Should we be buffering more or less? Right? Should we be optimizing for read or write latency? All this, I'll say this, black art of storage,
The
right?
knobs and
And
dials we're used to dealing with.
yeah, we're now doing that with AI, and we're getting fabulous results. And we're going to say, we're just going to just turn us on and we'll do it for you, right? My dream would be that, first we call you instead of you calling us, right? We're saying, hey, here's the 5 next things that are going to break. And then instead of us calling you, we're going to say, here's the 4 of the 5 that we just fixed on your behalf over the weekend, right? We patched them, upgraded them, we did all that operations for you, right? And here's the one we can't do, right?
We need your help.
Yeah, we need your help on. Somebody needs to go in the data center and flip the switch. And it enables our customers, and this is where the Tanzu story to me becomes so powerful, because every day that you're spending looking down the stack, as opposed to looking up at applications and business, that's what we want to enable, that we allow our customers resource to spend more time looking up at applications and more time up at the business value that they can deliver.
That's awesome. One thing I hear a lot about when I talk to executives is obviously cost, especially in this day and age. You look at, you guys brought on Cloud Health as well.
Mm-hmm.
What are you hearing from CIOs in terms of, especially in, times like we're in right now where
Mm-hmm.
every dollar is being looked at? Are you seeing additional demand and traction and wanting to not only see how resources are being used on premises, but then
Mm-hmm.
up into the hyperscalers, the public cloud providers, and there being an added level of kind of scrutiny around cost right now?
Mm-hmm. Well, a couple of thoughts there, Eric. One is, I believe that COVID is an accelerant for digital transformation.
Me too.
Right. So, right, it's just going to say, oh, boom, I need to do these projects. I got work from home. I have to turn efficiency. I need, right, to improve WAN performance. All of those things become accelerants. Industries that couldn't transform now are being forced to transform over days or weeks. Now, in that, obviously, if GDP gets hit by 20% in Q2, right, sort of, the general economic impact, right, I believe that IT will get affected, but less than GDP. Maybe IT gets affected 10%, right? It'll be down, and then software and cloud will be down less. So, and I believe there are several points between GDP, tech spending, and software and cloud. And but nobody, if the market goes down 20%, nobody is not affected, right? Everybody gets affected. And then the CIO needs to come in and say, which projects, so I'm being affected less, digital transformation is more important, but I need to look at all of my priorities. Yeah. Right? Because all of a sudden, hey, I got 20,000 work from home people. Okay, these priorities are way more important than, could have I lived on the ERP for another 6 months? Yeah, I could have, right? So I think everybody's going to be juggling their priorities inside of a somewhat trimmed budget. And against that, anything that helps save money and transform faster is higher value in that list. So I think the value proposition of virtualization has always been a cost and efficiency dynamic. We believe we can do more of that in the network, more of that with hyperconverged infrastructure, more effect to leverage the cloud. We do see that more subscription and SaaS, right, is the general direction, and that will also be accelerated in this period of time. But collectively, our objective, and I've called it internally, I've called it faster to the future. Right, we're going to embrace this crisis, like Winston Churchill said, never waste a good crisis. We got a good one. Embracing it, get to that future faster and be stronger, right, than our competitors, right? Be better and deeper, more strategically with our customers and partners so that we are helping them get to that future faster than ever before.
Yeah, I'm seeing just a general acceleration from the CIOs that I work with and talk to. Those application transformations, the greenfield initiatives, looking at them and really trying to evaluate, how do we accelerate them? How do we go cloud native faster? Which is great to see. And I think those are the things they now know they have to do. It's been a forcing function for many of them. Just in wrapping up, Pat, you alluded to this earlier, but I remember reading your book many years ago, and I know you're a very goal-oriented person. Care to share any of your key goals for the year? I know some of it's been travel-related in the past, so I'm assuming those might be off the table for now, or learning a language or something, but be curious to hear what you're working on these days. And
well, I think like everybody, everybody's trying to survive.
Of course.
In this environment, right? And I've called the crisis, triage, right? And then it's the new normal, but the new opportunity. And with it, it's very much in this idea of faster the future. How do I make sure that I've positioned my company, right, to be better positioned than ever before for our customers, for our employees, and in the marketplace in this period of time. And hey, I just announced a big reorg last week, taking other steps to go do that. And I think as a leader, people are looking at you more than ever in this period of time. And as I've said, the 3 rules of leading through a crisis. One is communication, second is empathy, and third is vision, right? And you communicate, you communicate, you communicate. I'm having 3 times the number of all company meetings than I had before the crisis. Wow, and I get all this super positive feedback. Oh, Pat, that was so compelling. I'm serious. I thought it was sort of boring. I don't think it was that different than what I said when we met last month, but right, you just communicate. One is people are struggling. And then you throw on that, the Minnesota situation, the Hong Kong situation. There's a lot of agony in the world, and they're looking for their leaders to really demonstrate, I'll say, true empathy in this period of time. But finally, painting a picture to the future, right? They want to know you're going somewhere, right? And I want to be part of your team because of the values, what I'm doing, who I'm working with, but I want to know that we're going somewhere that I care about. And to me, that's sort of, this period of time. And, against that, some of my other goals, I do want to climb Kilimanjaro again. One of my sons has said he wants to do that. We did that as a fundraiser. It's probably going to get delayed a little bit. We weren't even doing it in February of next year. It's going to get pushed out a little bit. I'm anxiously, I've started working on my next book. Eric, my wife, wants to take me on a writing week sometime later this year just to go work on getting that done, much more of a business book. So that's in play, and working with the charities that we're deeply involved with. And in a number of cases, they're being impacted pretty hard in this period of time. But what's the opportunity for them as well? And really saying, how does this present those? So lots of those projects in way, and it's really good to spend time with you, and so appreciate you, the team at Ahead, and your customers, and anxious to know when I can be back together, shake hands with you in person. But in the meantime, when can we go work together at some of your customers? Happy to do that.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining today, Pat. I appreciate it. And thanks for being a great partner of ours. And we'll talk soon.
Very good. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Looking Ahead, featuring Eric Kaplan. Looking Ahead is produced by Ahead, experts in delivering enterprise cloud infrastructure, intelligent operations, and modern applications. We build platforms for digital business. Learn more at thinkahead.com.